I think on the right, or in the gun rights community, not necessarily on the right, but in the gun rights community, people who advocate for gun rights, especially for all sorts of people from all kinds of different backgrounds. The narrative is often that gun control has very distinctly racist origins in the United States, dating back to things like the Black Codes in the antebellum South during slavery, continuing on through the Jim Crow era in post-Civil War South up till the Civil Rights Movement, and even necessarily, even in how the outcomes are affecting minorities today, in how some of these laws are actually enforced in practice. Disparity in how and who gets convicted. And we talked a little bit about this at the beginning, but that is kind of the full view that you get from gun rights activists when we hear about race and guns in America. And I just wonder if you think that is, if you have any thoughts on that, and you think there's more needs to be added to be considered more context, because obviously, like you spoke about, most Black Americans support gun control policies at a higher rate than most white Americans do, and now why would they do that? Obviously, if they believe that the policies were racist, so there's obviously some component here that is not often discussed, and I was wondering if you could just give us a quick roundup on that.
There's no question. I mean, like, as a historical matter, there's no question that there were a lot of laws passed after the Civil War that had after Reconstruction, that had the intent of disarming, in particular, Black Union veterans who were seen as, even if that was not necessarily, who were seen as like competent militarily. These are guys who know how to fight. And they very much, while they were, Reconstruction ended with a campaign of violence by, Democratic aligned paramilitaries against Black voters who mostly voted Republican at the time. And part of this was not just disenfranchisement by the ballot, but also disarming them so that they could not physically resist, these acts of terrorism. But today, obviously, the big issue is gun violence. So, you have these communities that are suffering disproportionately from gun violence, disproportionately from, discrimination from law enforcement. And so, they are more likely to support restrictions, despite the fact, I mean, I'm sure your listeners are very familiar with the anecdotes. I mean, obviously, Martin Luther King's entourage was armed,
and Martin Luther King was denied a gun carry permit. In a major state. Obviously, everybody's seen the iconic Malcolm X photo of him defending his home, looking out the window. But it's, it's not, you're not going, I mean, like, if you want to tell Black voters that they are more likely to be prosecuted under gun restrictions than white people, they already know that because it's true of most laws in the United States. But, the issue with gun violence is, it's, although I will say
it's such a huge problem that people obviously want relief from it. Like,
sure.
It is, I don't know if you've ever known anybody who's been shot, but, it's awful. It's awful to lose your friends and classmates, your loved ones. So people support gun restrictions because they want to see less of that happening. And so the issue is really that there's just so many guns that, in my mind, it's very hard for gun restrictions to be effective because there's so many guns around that the black market in firearms is just, is so easily accessible by anybody who's determined to obtain a gun unlawfully.